Wednesday morning, I got up well before dawn to fly to Charleston, South Carolina for a conference. I was there to speak with members of the stormwater and wastewater management industries from throughout the United States and Canada, representing New York State and most especially the City of Buffalo and the Buffalo Sewer Authority. Much of the conference focused on recruitment and retention. What has worked, what has not. How do we bring in a new generation of workers into jobs and ensure not only that we have the numbers necessary to maintain, upgrade, and expand existing systems, but also that the workers represent the diversity of our residents? How do we ensure that all those workers are properly trained with all the skills that they need to succeed in their jobs and to advance their careers? And how do we further ensure that the voices of all of those workers are being heard and their needs are being addressed? As a member of the executive team for a utility that for generations has relied on the sons of existing white male workers to fill our ranks and has now pivoted toward recruiting workers from throughout the diverse population of our city, partially in response to a shrinking pool of these traditional workers, but also in recognition of the benefits that a diverse workforce provides and the injustice of a civil service workforce paid for by our city's residents that does not reflect the diversity of our city. I was able to offer insights into how such a transition could be accomplished, strategies to avoid the pitfalls inherent in such a cultural shift, and the opportunities and rewards that can come with greater diversity, equity, and inclusion within the work environment. Was also able to develop connections from throughout North America to bring new strategies back to New York State, Western New York, and most especially Buffalo. But being in Charleston, the most impactful part of my trip was the time that I was able to spend in prayer outside of Mother Emanuel AME Church, just a few blocks down Calhoun Street from my hotel. Mother Emanuel has long been the site of resistance to white supremacist ideologies and policies that have insinuated themselves into so much of American life, and for being this voice of justice and righteousness rooted in the law, the prophets, and the gospel. This sanctuary was targeted by a white supremacist terrorist on June 17, 2015. Almost 7 years ago now, 9 witnesses to the gospel were martyred on the site as they gathered for Bible study because their blackness was an affront to this white man's sense of self. On Thursday and Friday of this week, I was able to pray at the site that had been consecrated by their blood for the ongoing struggle for justice and equity in our land, for an end to racism, and for a willingness by all people to embrace diversity as a strength rather than as a source of division. Little did I know that the horrific racially motivated loss of life that had been perpetuated at Mother Emanuel 7 years ago would be recreated in my own city by a man who, like the perpetrator in Charleston, traveled from hours away to massacre members of the Black community within a building that had been a symbol of hope. Because to be clear, like with Mother Emanuel, the TOPS that was targeted yesterday was more than just a building. It was a symbol, the culmination of years of effort by community members, including the local NAACP chapter, and now Assembly Majority Leader Crystal Peoples-Stokes, to bring a source of affordable, fresh fruit, vegetables, and other grocery items into the Jefferson Avenue neighborhood. When it opened, there were news reports celebrating the new TOPS together with the opening of the Frank E. Merriweather Library, where news conferences have been held throughout yesterday afternoon and evening and into today. They were being hailed together as being symbols of a rejuvenated Jefferson Avenue. The TOPS on Jefferson was targeted because it represented this renaissance, because it was a source of pride within the East Side community in which it was located, and because Buffalo has been cited time and time again as one of the most segregated places in this country. Just a decade ago, as a white person, such an attack would most likely have impacted me only in a detached sort of way, as an attack on my city. But I would not have known anyone who was hurt or killed, or even who knew someone who was hurt or killed. Today, though, even as we remain a highly segregated city, as I told my son Ezekiel yesterday, even if we did not know someone personally who died, someone we know personally was undoubtedly directly impacted by this event. Someone we know lost a friend or family member. Someone we know had to hide in a cooler behind a dumpster or on the floor of their car yesterday. I have friends, coworkers, and acquaintances. He has classmates, teachers, lunch ladies, and others, all of whom live within blocks of that Tops. Despite our ongoing divisions, we are all connected. And as much as it hurts on a day like today, as we await in trepidation the names and stories of those who were massacred yesterday, I am feeling blessed that we have begun to fill in the chasms of division that had divided us for far too long. This is what it means to be a disciple of Christ, to love one another as Jesus loved us, to truly celebrate and rejoice in the person that each one of us is, to treasure each other's individuality, and not to just accept but embrace our diversity as our strength, to reach across the lines that have traditionally divided us and listen to one another's stories, to reject prejudice in all of its forms, including that which we find in our own hearts, to say no to the hate which destroys so many lives 7 years ago in Charleston and again yesterday on our own east side. Amen.